of the most important steps in disaster preparedness is creating a financial plan for emergencies. This takes planning, patience, dedication, and time. Start by building an emergency fund by opening a separate savings account dedicated to disaster-related expenses. By opening a separate account, you'll be less tempted to spend on non-emergency expenses. Next, determine how much you need to save for emergencies. Generally, it is recommended to save at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. That may seem like a daunting task at first, but a great way to start is to set up automatic transfers to your emergency fund account so that you don't even have to think about it and your savings continues to build over time. Once you have reached your goal, try to maintain the balance of your emergency fund over time or even continue to add to it. Remember that the emergency fund is for disaster preparedness and recovery only. If you do evacuate or incur disaster-related expenses, be sure to replace the funds as soon as possible. Another way to prepare for disasters is to talk with your financial institution about lines of credit or credit card options that you can use in the case of an emergency. Products like a home equity line of credit or credit cards in place before a disaster occurs allows you to immediately use for unexpected expenses. It is important to remember, even in an emergency, to be mindful of your ability to pay back those purchases over time. Enrolling in online banking and downloading your bank's mobile app will ensure that you have access to your account information 24/7, even if you are unable to physically visit a branch. Ensure your financial institution has your most up-to-date contact information, including your phone number and email address. This helps bank staff identify you even if you cannot physically come into a branch, as well as helps to prevent potential fraud. Evacuating for disasters such as hurricanes adds another layer to disaster financial planning. Create a budget to help plan and save for those expenses. Consider the cost to house and feed your family for at least a week. Remember to keep all receipts when evacuating, as FEMA and your insurance company may reimburse you for some of those expenses. First, make a list of potential costs associated with evacuating, such as gas, lodging, food, and transportation. Consider how long you may need to stay away from your home to help determine the actual cost of these items. Remember to include medical and pet care expenses. Next, think about your available resources. Review your emergency fund, credit card availability, and other financial resources to determine how much you can afford to spend on evacuating. Prioritize your expenses based on what is most essential, such as transportation and lodging. Consider ways to reduce costs where possible, such as staying with friends or family instead of booking a hotel room. The amount of cash you should have on hand for a natural disaster depends on several factors, including the severity of the disaster, your location, and your individual and family needs. In general, it is a good idea to have enough cash on hand to cover expenses for at least a week, as natural disasters can disrupt essential services such as power, water, and transportation. You may need cash on hand to purchase food, water, medication, and other emergency supplies. If evacuating, keep the cash on hand for when you return home, as credit card services may not be running immediately.